So this was my first day in India, ever. And what an amazing day it was. Did you guys have a great day? As great as I have? How amazing. I first want to thank, because an amazing collection of speakers, all in tune with the theme of the day, imagine that. So really, really great. So Sanjay, Dinesh, Amit, what a great job you did. Now, having great organizers, really important. Having good speakers, probably also not too bad. But an event would not be an event without a great audience. So I want to thank you guys for being here. Thank you for making the time, coming over here and so on. So an event is made by the people attending the event, by nobody else. You can have brilliant speakers, but how amazing. I've heard lots of things today, really cool. I heard great stuff. You're doing fine. You know, I'm from Europe, working with big companies that see you guys as sort of sometimes outsourcing, whatever you want to call yourselves. I try to avoid the term culture as much as possible. Is that mine? No, okay. I try to avoid the term culture as much as possible because culture is, the word culture, or the idea behind it, is too easily brought back to region, language, part of the world, whatever. The only context in which I ever use culture is organizational culture. Because I have the fundamental belief that no matter where you live on the planet, how you look like, what language you speak, you have the ability to be agile. Everybody has the intrinsic ability to self-organize your work. End of discussion. It's sort of the culture within an organization that is imposed on people that will define whether you can build on that capability or not. I hate sometimes that sort of, can I use that word, that sort of neo-colonial attitude. Yeah, but you know what, over there they can't do that, and there, no, that's not possible over there. It is, because we're all human beings, we are people, we can all do that. So that's the only context I ever use culture in. So don't let yourself to be reduced to resources. People are not resources. Don't ever call people resources. People are what they are, people. Exciting, challenging, intelligent, whatever creatures, wherever they live. People are people. Resources is pieces of machinery, cogs like they said. People are not resources. People are not replaceable pieces of machinery. We can't say that enough. And even if they think in whatever part of the world that they can treat you as resources, don't allow yourself to be used as resources. Everybody is better than just being a resource. Some of the fundamental beliefs that at least I thrive on. So throughout today, some lovely conversations, also a lot of pictures too. So my photo book is now suddenly a lot bigger than it was before I came here. So really, really, really cool. A couple of things I wanted to quickly elaborate on with you guys, and that's sort of try to look into the future a little bit. I'll come back on that. This is sort of the last slide I think I showed you earlier on today. I had some conversations, I heard some people talk about startups. I will quickly want to share an experience I told to somebody also in the audience. Sometimes some companies are already, I just want to add this first, yeah. Does anybody know the new product development game? Who has heard of that? The HBR paper, yeah? 1986, two Japanese professors wrote a paper called the new product development game. So they did some research investigations into what they call new product development. They put a new in front of that and a game after it. They established, they described sort of the characteristics that made some product development companies more successful than other ones. And they gave Scrum its name because they used the analogy with Scrum. Now what is so beautiful about that paper, 1986, it already sort of described what an agile organization or an organization based upon Scrum should look like. Because this is almost quoting from their paper, where teams operate like startups. They define, they set their own agenda. They define, they think about what they need to do within boundaries, expectations, objectives set by the company. But management acts more like a venture capitalist. They support them. They give them all the support they need. They give them the means, whatever, the money, the budget. But they do not intervene on a daily basis, which seems to be very difficult for a lot of managers. I heard you talk about managers also today, really great stuff. What I found so difficult with a lot of management people, CXO and below that levels, whatever, is that people climb the ladder based upon sometimes personalities, at least behavior, that we are now trying to get rid of. Backstabbing, killing people, pushing people aside with your elbows and so on, and then climb the ladder, being really good at firefighting. Oh yeah, I can control a crisis. And now we're asking all those people to sort of take up very new behavior. Facilitate, coach, servant leadership, and so on. Some companies, I call it servant management. It catches on with some people, but it does open up the opportunity for them to go back to their people side, which it seems they have not lost, but it's at least not appreciated as you climb the ladder, that you still care for people. You should be rational, you can't show emotions, you should be big and courageous and whatever. I'm like, no, just be human. Climb the ladder, keep your emotions, keep how you care for people. You will be a stronger manager. So people climb the ladder with, and all the victims they leave behind. And now we're asking the same people that climb the ladder with that sort of behavior to do something very different. So the essential message is, don't shoot them for it. Be tolerant. Understand what they go through. Help them, facilitate them too. Help them discover a new role within that Agile organization. That's sort of my idea. So a little bit about the closing. The same picture that we just saw. And I'm talking about startups. I've worked with a couple of startups, like companies, I don't know how big you would call a startup, but I've worked with a couple of companies like between 100, 150 people. And they're becoming really good at what they do, successful, high customer satisfaction score and so on. They grow, they want to become bigger. They're successful. So in a way, from sort of the future Agile organization, it's sort of this part. They've got one, two, a few teams of some 100 people, a product, successful service, whatever, and they want to grow. Now, the strange thing with a lot of those companies, what I see is that they tend to take that direction. They think that, I don't know, maybe it's taught at business schools, MBAs, I don't care, I don't know where it comes from. People think that if they're successful as this and they need to grow, oh yeah, now it has to become serious. And you go for like functional separations and layers and so on. I don't know, maybe it's being taught at schools, I have no idea. It seems to be very difficult to keep with that working model. They have a model that works. That's why they're successful. That's why they can grow. Why not replicate that model? Do the same. And grow instead of maybe vertically, maybe horizontally. Think about purpose. Think about what connects those new things. Start up a new product, a new service, but keep the working model in place. If from this model you go over there, you cut up, you break up a model that works. And that's where, and it's sometimes the opposite when I go to work with big companies and like smart people, when they introduce these ideas, it's like, oh yeah, that's how we used to work like 15 years ago. Oh yeah, that was great. We just sat together. There was a problem. We united around the problem. We solved it. So it's just, everything comes back. So that's funny. So this is just about startups a little bit. Now to conclude a little bit and talk about the future. I don't do too many events. I'm really happy that I'm here, by the way. Except for the shutdown sometimes, but cool. So in the fall, I'm going back to Scrum Day Denmark. So this is Scrum Day India. It's, I think, the 6th or 7th edition of Scrum Day Denmark. I'm really grateful to those people. They've been really, can I say that, almost loyal. One of the few events that didn't drop me when I left Scrum to Talk. It's one of the lessons I learned. I care about ideas and ideals. A lot of people in the world don't seem to care about that, so they stopped inviting me because I no longer had a fancy title and fancy position. Well, okay, funny. So I'm going back to Scrum Day Denmark, and like people, event organizers, nasty people like they do, they want to know a subject. And what are you going to talk about? I'm like, yeah, but that's still 3 months to go. How can I know that? But they needed, so I was thinking, and I was recently wrote an article for Exhibia magazine in the Netherlands, so a physical magazine. And the title of my article, or the baseline of my article, is, and that sort of already my conclusion, so I'm giving away the conclusion already. Engagement is key, or engagement is the key. And I'll tell you why, and I'll build up to that a little bit. So that's a bit looking into the future, what I'm going to talk about after summer at some events. I was thinking about doing it here, but Sanjay would have killed me to not stick to the subject that I gave him. That's how you are, Sanjay, right? So look into the future, but also my honest belief that that's the future, engagement. In Scrum terms, in a way, commitment. I like the term engagement more. I like the term engagement more than just fun and happiness. Fun and happiness can be very empty things. Engagement is, I think, what we need. And I want to build up to that a little bit. So these are 2 pictures from my book. I have a book. This is my honest belief. What we are currently living, not just India, not just Belgium, small Belgium, Europe, whatever. We are truly seeing, we are in the midst of an enormous shift from the industrial way of working into what I hope will become the Agile paradigm. We are truly doing that. Industrial work, it's over. That's just no longer applies. Some people think it is, some managers think it is, some companies think, but it's over. Sticking to that will get you killed at some point in time, or out of business, whatever. So we are moving from the industrial to the Agile paradigm. I don't know how that is in India, but in Belgium it's going to take a while before schools and universities pick up on that. They still teach old school processes and methodologies, whatever, to young people of 19, 20 years old. So it's going to take a while. But that shift is happening, and it cannot be stopped because the world is full of information, data, real-time information, knowledge, and so on. So we will go there. One of the aspects of that Agile paradigm is value. A very important one is even in the definition of Scrum, in the Scrum Guide, how to maximize or optimize value. So in a way, agility, flexibility, responsiveness, ability to adapt, agility is almost the ability to deliver value in very complex circumstances. So a lot has to do with value. And value is, like in one of the sessions, value is not utilization. Utilization is being busy. That's all. The only thing you have with utilization is that people are busy. And even the idea of the Taylorism, removing all slack, we need slack in our processes. Slack means thinking time, staring out the window, going for a walk, taking a shower. I get the most silly ideas when I go out to do some running or in the shower and so on. So if I would I'm my own boss, so if I would force myself to fill in timesheets, I would have to fill in the time under the shower because I get brilliant ideas under the shower or when I go out running. So how useful is that? Utilization is all about being busy. That's all. It's not by being innovative and so on. You can sort of pre-plan, pre-fill a sprint, at sprint planning, completely fill it based on utilization, and you take out all of the oxygen of the room, no innovation, no thinking. You need slack in your processes, room to stop, think, and so on. So you need slack. But it's about value, not utilization. I would love a team to only use half of the sprint and build enormous value that we can bring to the market and test out whether it works and then spend the rest of the sprint doing nothing, rather than just being busy building, adding stuff, adding complexity to code base nobody's going to use. So imagine the courage of a product to do that. So let's focus on value a little bit. And this is history, I think, and future. When in 2013, Ken Schwaber and I decided to work together. And then he helped me get away from 2 additional jobs because I was sort of combining 3 jobs at that point in time. I was what they call global Scrum leader within Capgemini, Agile Value Proposition Manager, whatever fancy titles they have. I was doing a lot of trainings, and I was also already working with Ken and Scrum.org maintaining courseware. So that Ken said, well, let's go from 3 jobs back to 1, Gunther, and be my partner for Europe, and in the end, for the rest of the world. And the first thing we did, as I started working within Scrum.org, built something that we called agility path. Who knows agility path? You see? No hands go up. That is how brilliant we are in creating enormous, creative, brilliant stuff, and then make sure that nobody finds out. So by that time, we were already seeing that thing of agile transformation. We built something called agility path. We spent quite some money on it. We trained people in it. We call them engagement managers and so on. Nobody picked up. Nobody listened to us because it was Scrum.org. Nobody sort of associated that with Scrum. Essentially, and I heard talks about today about evidence-based management. I'm old guy. I know that in India you think that age and wisdom go together. In my case, they don't. I've got the age. I hope someday to have something of wisdom. But going back in time a little bit, so agility path, we intended that to be a sort of really open, flexible framework to help people go through an agile transformation, almost introduce Scrum with Scrum. So use Scrum to develop your Scrum. Because we saw that Scrum was being sort of limited at the level of IT, often to match some teams and so on, so we want to help people. So we wanted to help managers, change people, change agents, no matter what. We wanted to help them use Scrum to introduce Scrum. So, and that got lost a little bit, so that's why I want to bring it back up. So evidence-based management, we had thinking about value, very important. So value, very important, the agile paradigm in Scrum. So think about value. And we thought about key value indicators. But you know what? Key value indicators as sort of was my alternative to KPIs, key performance indicators. Key performance indicators, nothing wrong with the term, just very wrongly used. So nobody uses it. They said it as objectives rather than indications of a situation. So we thought about, instead of KPIs, KVIs, key value indicators. But that's just sort of the measurement, the inspection part. Like I said, inspection without adaptation is pointless in Scrum. So it's what you do with those metrics, how you act upon those metrics, to not turn those metrics into an objective in themselves. Metrics should give you an indication of a situation. They cannot tell you what to do with them. And they are certainly not a driver for the future. So that was one part. So we thought about key value indicators, a number of metrics, I'll talk about them, and how to use them, help you implement Scrum better. I've now called it just a Scrum zone. From your metrics, the evidence that you collect, oh, damn, this is not what we were hoping for. Customer satisfaction is not going up, it's going down. What to do with that? Why are we not doing it wrong? Is something wrong with the way we work with product owners, how we manage our product backlogs, how often we release or not release, and so on. So think about it. So key value indicators, and use them to think about skills, knowledge of people, practices that people use, the way they use the process, the tools they have, the authorizations that they have, and so on. So that was the adaptation part. So it was about closing a sort of empirical feedback loop, inspection, adaptation. And our initial idea with agility path and later on evidence-based management, but certainly agility path was to get, in a way, managers, sponsors, whatever's focus away from those teams. Instead of breathing down their necks all the time, look at metrics and then, take a little bit of distance. In a way, look at the results you produce instead of how those results are being produced. It's sort of like you can build a beautiful race car with the biggest, most powerful engine ever, the most performant Scrum teams ever, and then let them drive on the road in traffic hour around Delhi. It's not helpful. It will not drive faster. So help managers focus on the context, the environment, rather than just sort of the power of the engine. Yeah? The Scrum teams are your engine, but if your context, if your road is not clear, it's not going to help to have the biggest, the fastest car on the planet. So, and then, as this was not catching on, some bright guy in the US, David Starr, said, hey, what we're doing with those key value indicators, that's like the medical practice. We try to capture evidence and then let our behavior actions be driven by evidence. So that came up with evidence-based management. I still like to call this empirical management. Still not a final term, I still haven't figured it out. I'm very bad at those things. But at least management in an empirical environment, or management also performed in an empirical way. Inspection, adaptation, all the time. Key value indicators, 3 possible domains or selections. I know they've expanded it to 4, I don't know. Luckily, I don't have to agree anymore because I don't work there anymore, so I'm just sticking to gray hairs, age, no wisdom, sorry. So key value indicators, current value, actual value, ability, adaptability, ability to sustain that value. You can have a high value currently, but that's not a guarantee that you will still have it in a month's time, in 6 months' time, in a year. Are you able to sustain that value? You can have a high value with the ability to try to sustain that value, and you would be locking yourself from new value. So innovation, is there new value out there that you haven't uncovered yet? And then within the current value indicators, the sort of primary indicators that you need to capture first, within them, 3 aspects. Something with money in general, something for the organization via the stakeholders, lots of commercial organizations, non-government organizations, that's different. Most organizations I know are commercial, so something with money, something with users and customers. And then the overlooked aspect is engagement. So value for the people that use your products, value for the people that sponsor you, the organization, but also value for the people that actually have to do the work. That's what team engagement is about for me. You know, value, agile paradigm, value, and then, team engagement. That was what my paper was about. So let's focus on that a little bit. And it was brought up today, the Gallup Study, 2017, the latest version. And much to my surprise, and I've done a bad thing, I like to do that online. So much to my surprise, I read that study a while ago, and I wrote about it in the article that I created for Xebia. What did the Gallup study research into? Engagement of people, how engaged are people, and there's sort of 3 domains. So engagement of people, sort of passive people, sort of couldn't care less, and then actively disengaged people, which is even more scary. So I looked into that and I quickly saw that Western Europe is somewhere down here. I looked into the details and my beautiful home country of Belgium within Europe is even on the bottom. So there's something not so good. But it seems that overall personal happiness of people in Belgium is really great. So we just hate to go to work, that's all. Which is a pity because we spend quite some hours over there. Like 3, 4, 5 days a week. And the only thing that we're looking for, like 7, 8 hours a day, is like, when can I go home? When can I go home? So we can do lovely stuff, read, play music, do other stuff, play with the kids, I don't care. How amazing would it be that we could also have some sort of engagement feeling in that part of our lives? So, and much to my surprise today, I looked into the figures. India is, in the Gallup study, is part of South Asia. You barely score better than Belgium. Wow. So the actual figures, so South Asia in total is 14% engagement, 65 and 21. I think I looked up the actual figures for India, and it's like your colleague said, 13%, and this is, I think, even 22%. That is scary, because those are people that believe in the company, that really want to go for it. Those are people that actively work against the company. They're like saboteurs within your company. They undo all the work of those other people. That's happening. This is scary. This is scary. Only 13% of your workforce in Belgium, it's even lower, are actively believing in the company that they work for. So if you want to increase your ability to deliver value, it's even less than user or customer satisfaction and sponsors and so on. It's about re-engaging people. So this reinforced my idea when I left Scrum.org that Scrum should be about humanizing the workplace, create a more humane workplace so that people feel at home, build on their natural ability to self-organize their work against boundaries, within boundaries, and so on. Imagine that you can increase that figure with, I don't know, 5, 10, 15%. You know how many people that would be, that certainly would be actively engaged for your companies against the purpose of your company? That would be brilliant. Imagine your ability to deliver value. If you certainly imagine that you can reduce sort of the negativity with a number of percentage points. That would be amazing. That's our inertial thinking. People are not resources. By treating and thinking of people like resources, we keep this intact. By treating people as intelligent, creative creatures, we might do something about it. And you know what? In the end, if it's about money and customer satisfaction anyhow, employees who are engaged, they actually care a lot more about the outcomes you produce, the value you produce, the satisfaction that they possibly create. So this is what I'm going to talk about, not just as from the fall of this year. I hope this is our future. And I hope we all can build that together, that future. So think about people, think about how humane is your workplace organized. I think that's our future. And the potential that we can unleash with that is gigantic. And that brings me to a last quote from my book, that we can use Scrum to actually re-emerge existing organizations into more humane workplaces. So thank you very much for being here. Really happy with this. I hope we can all do this together. Me not having any wisdom, have to rely on people like yourself anyhow to make this happen, but imagine that we can do this. So thank you very much. Come home safely. Come back next year, if ever there will be another Scrum Day India. I have no idea. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much for being here, and it was a great day.